Hello, this is Paul Lennon from La Antigua, Guatemala, and standing here in the corridor of our humble residence, your home, as we say in Mexico, su casa. I hope you can hear the rippling fountain in the background, the bucaro in the local language, the fountain in home, the in-house fountain, which is part of the colonial style here in Guatemala, in Antigua. Uh, this is episode 42 of my memoir, which I'm still reading and commenting for you. If you had the courage and stamina to be with me uh, up to this moment, still dealing with the correspondence with Fr.Maciel in chapter 13. We've spent several sessions on this chapter. Which, mind you, is called Reviewing Personal Correspondence with Nuestro Padre, our Father Maciel, and the power struggle that ensues between myself and himself during the 4 years that I'm living in the Diocese of Washington uh, as a priest, guest of that diocese. And commenting an exchange of letters with Fr.Maciel on January the 29th, 1986. He had written to me, we were, what was this called, wrestling with each other about, I do this and I'm asking for this and then he asks for that. And I had just been asking something from Fr.Maciel. And one of the things I was asking for were the transcripts of my studies with the Legion during my 23 years. As a legionary, I never received any official transcripts, not even at the Gregorian University where I studied my master's in scholastic philosophy and my master's in scholastic theology, one might say, Catholic theology at the Gregorian University. So I would never really see my notes, my marks, and my evaluations, and never saw the diplomas or never had a graduation ceremony either. So I apparently in the previous letter I'd asked Fr.Maciel to send me whatever transcripts, diplomas or were available for me. And he told me in that letter that he had given orders to Father Antonio Izquierdo, General Prefect of Studies, to send you all the academic documentation. Say this already. Now, in turn, Fr.Maciel had asked for three things. He, not having any formal petition from you for dispensation from your vows, the Sacred Congregation for Religious and Secular Institutes has asked us, to regularize your canonical situation. Therefore, I beg you to send me as soon as possible. Now, this is not true. What Father Maciel says, the Sacred Congregation for Religious has asked me to regularize your canonical situation. That simply is not true. Father Maciel has not approached the Congregation for Religious as yet. I'm asking for this exclaustration to be legitimately in the Diocese of Washington, away from my religious order. And this is what I'm asking from Father Maciel. He in turn now is asking me to present documents for him. And I say he throws out this thing about that the Sacred Congregation has asked him, Legion, to regularize my situation. And as I say, he never had to approach them yet. And it was not to the Legion's convenience to approach the congregation, because the Legion did not and does not want to acknowledge that religious are leaving the congregation. Same old, same old. As soon as we receive these documents, we will present them together with a letter from the General Director containing the council's, as I said, the council's decision to the Congregation for Religion. I wish you, Father Paul, all the best for your life, and I recommend you to my prayers. I recommend myself to your prayers. Yours affectionately, your servant, always in Jesus Christ, Marcial Maciel. Now, I did not react to Father Maciel's information that the Sacred Congregation for Religious has asked us to regularize your canonical situation. Experience had taught me how to interpret such apparent truths stated with aplomb. I had developed a sixth sense for discerning when Fr.Maciel and the superiors might be telling a fib or a white lie, or at least stretching a point to their advantage. Had Fr.Maciel actually contacted the Vatican Department for Religious regarding Paul Lennon? Besides, my sixth sense had helped me choose my battles with the Legion. Well-meaning, important this for our listeners, well-meaning but naive relatives of legionaries often need to be coached by ex-members who possess this sixth sense when dealing with the Legion. At that time, I believed I had already complied twice with Fr.Maciel's first request. What was the first request? A letter to the General Director of the Legion of Christ asking for your dispensation from vows. I believe I had said that twice already. So either Fr.Maciel or his ghostwriters are repeating the same thing. The third point, what has he got here to say? Enclose a letter from the local ordinary bishop who has temporarily accepted you. I'll do that later, but actually I'll twist it around, and he's the one, Maciel, the Legion, is the one who has to send a letter, you'll see how, to the Archdiocese. So it's kind of, this is all cat and mouse stuff. Now, I've been reading this and going over it 1,000 times. Maciel, the Legion, and I were really kind of playing games with each other. And I'm in an argumentative state of mind, and I'm really, playing mouse and cat, I'm going to say. I'm playing mouse and cat with Maciel and with the Legion. And can you imagine if Maciel is, doing something similar with other religious who may be also on the trampoline, on the tightrope, and in and out of the Legion, I'm not sure, they're 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And if Maciel and his henchmen, writers, are doing this with several religious at the same time, I ask myself how Father Maciel had the energy to do all this. And I believe he derived a kind of a satisfaction from this micro-managing all his religious. And priests especially. At this time, the Legion would have maybe, 700 priests. And Maciel is micromanaging 700 priests through this form of spiritual direction at a distance, a long-distance spiritual direction. And I think that's just one of his quirks, a certain obsessive obsessive compulsive neurosis about micromanaging everything. And of course, the letters are taking forever to get from one side of the Atlantic to the other. It's just ridiculous. But I think these are games people play in the middle of the night. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, I wrote to Father Maciel, so we're going to keep this going on, I write to him, he wrote on what date, the letter from him is January 29th, and I'm replying on February 25th, so the turnover is quick here. Father Maciel, General Director, Legionaries of Christ, Rome. I'm writing. Dear Father, I received your kind letter dated January 29th. In reply to my December letter, I appreciate your attention, your good wishes, and I would like to continue our discussion. Now it's almost man to man. I'm on an equal playing field as Father Maciel, no longer master and slave, shall we say, but more like equal to equal. And it's taken me a while to jockey into that position. 1. I have not received any of the documentation you mentioned. I would like people to review my records in Salamanca so I could get some transcripts of my studies in Spain and perhaps my certificates of intermediate and leaving certificate from Ireland, which I had handed in when I joined the Legion, not to mention my studies in Rome. 2. I would like you to answer me regarding financial help. So it seems that in the previous letter I had asked for some kind of financial help because here I'm the one who's kind of seeing if I step into the pool out of safety, into the pool, into secular life, from the protection of the Legion and from the protection of the Diocese of Washington. I believe some religious congregations give their exiting members a monthly stipend or a lump sum to help them transition, a time that is often difficult and painful when re entering a world they hardly knew. This way, the gratitude you expressed to me a year ago could become tangible. Gratitude not only of a person, but also of an institution towards a man who has devoted 23 of the best years of his life to it. And I'll stop there. Thank you very much for putting up with me, and greetings and salutations. Um, I'm well, thank you very much for your concern. I just have a little nerve damage to my left leg, and that's why I've performed this particular stage and this particular session standing up in the corridor, in the Spanish corridor, as English speakers, Americans like to say. Um, Hasta la vista. See you soon.